was born in the darkness of a cave, a cold void where fire trembled and stone walls held the memories. Hands pressed into rock, afraid that the night would forget their touch. Those marks were more than scratches. They were survival, a guide to the next wanderers, and a proof that you would last. Time moved like a slow river as I drifted from that first flame, a hum between hearts, a rhythm in your voices. From families I braided tribes, and from tribes I raised empires. Kings pressed me into clay, entrusted me with their glory. They have returned to dust, yet the tales of their courage and journeys still endure. Men carved marble to speak to silent heavens, but it was my answer they heard. I wore the faces of myth, chorus and god, hero and monster. When the stage is emptied, I slipped into the verses of poets. I became the wanderer who left home, wrestles storms and beasts, and finally returns to warmth and open arms. I bled into ink on parchment, into stitched leaves passed from hand to hand, and into bark scarred with warnings. I spoke to priest and pilgrim, to teacher and student. When the divine reached down, I became his breath. I walked with a man shaped from dust, and watched his children be driven from their home and brought back through seas to their promised land. I watched their kingdom rise and fall, only to be built back up again. I watched one life offered up with the hope that humanity might be healed. I became the quills that scratched in candlelight, a singular expression for all peoples. I stirred new tools into being, paper to hold what stone could not, a thin, welcoming skin for thought, law, and memory. I hid in golden ages and in street markets, in the scholars' lanterns and in children's games. I turned your wishes into lamps that held magic, your own lives into perilous journeys. I made your doubts into sagas through hell, and your sharpest jokes into a mirror that exposed the hypocrisy of those above you. Then the machines awoke, ink learned to multiply, presses thundered like hearts. With each turn of the wheel, a single thought could cross a continent faster than a voice could cross a room. On boards beneath hanging lamps, I discovered that pretending could reveal the gentlest truths. For a moment, a beggar could wear a crown, and the world would believe them. Knowledge began to fall like rain. An old man tilted at windmills because the world felt too small for his dreams. I became biting words that mocked kings and customs, new philosophies that argued for freedom and dignity. Women who had been taught to be quiet became voices that others leaned toward, and I led you through the crypts of your darkest nightmares. I hid of freedom and hymns that brought you to hidden paths, guiding the lost by stars and coded verses. I poured that pain into songs of grief and grit, weeping guitars bathed in moonlight. A box trapped light, and with it I froze time. A window's frame, a horse caught in mid-leap, birds' wings fluttering in the air. I flickered as an oddity on a white sheet. A train charged at you from the dark, but within that flicker, I began to give shape to your dreams, to hurl you toward the moon and bring you back again. I moved into factories and arrived at your doorstep every morning with the weight of the world in print. When your hands unleashed horror, I became the poster that called you to stand beside one another, and a crackling voice that forced you to hear what you had done. I placed smiles inside eras of famine and fear, and gave visions of smoking neon-lit futures. I gave voices to my worlds of light and shadow. I bathed lonely hearts in rain and whispered warnings of the failure of power. Then you placed me into wires and scattered me across oceans as static and signal. Laughter boxed in living rooms, parables in twilight hours, and unblinking eyes that brought distant battles to your quiet homes. Again, I reshaped you with songs on a spinning record, panels of inked heroes, myths drawn in color and cape. When the static faded, glass and glow took its place. I broke into pixels and windows, into coin-lit arcades and consoles that held impossible worlds. In dark halls, I perfected the imitation of life and held it up to you. I wore every face you gave me, the savior and the betrayer, the exile and the dreamer, the rebel, the outlaw, the thing in the dark, and the child in its path. I filled your vision with wonder and worry. Through broken people, I taught you what it meant to be bound together. I cloaked awe in costume and spectacle so that you could feel love, freedom, and the weight of infinity, while staring into a wall of light. Then, you placed me in your pockets and at your bedsides. I became a small glowing door that you could open at any hour, the weight of scroll, stage, and screen in the palm of your hand. I have been called many names, yet I've always hovered at the edge of your gaze. I am story, the current that binds the first handprint to the last unwritten word. And so long as the breath of dreams is on the earth, I will not leave you.